Predictions are not facts, to be sure. That was proven again with an exclamation point in 2016 when almost every pollster completely misfired with their almost unanimous prognostication of victory for Hillary Clinton. So predictions are inherently fraught with peril, and history is sometimes not the best guide. If it was, Donald Trump would not have scored the greatest upset in American political history. Some things are simply true until they're no longer true. But in predicting the re-election of President Donald Trump, there are plentiful historical facts to back up such an assertion. Let's examine 5 of them. Fact 1. The economy has always been the #1 factor in peacetime presidential elections. More than 2 centuries of electoral history reveal that the economy is the foremost concern of voters past, present, and likely future. Because people have always voted with their pocketbooks, this is both the single most important issue and most reliable indicator of a president's prospects for re-election. The Trump economy continues to be robust, driven by a potent combination of high growth, low unemployment, rising wages, negligible inflation, and soaring consumer and business confidence reflected in the rising tide sweeping from Main Street to Wall Street. Fact 2. The only 3 presidents denied a second term in the last 100 years were weighed down by declining economic conditions. Herbert Hoover was president when the nation was hit by the Great Depression and was defeated in 1932 by Franklin D. Roosevelt in a landslide. The same fate awaited Jimmy Carter in 1980, beaten badly by Ronald Reagan during a time of stagflation and crushing interest rates. And George H.W. Bush was beaten decisively by Bill Clinton during the recession of the early 1990s. Economic conditions today bear no resemblance to those during the times of these one-term presidents. Every president other than this trio who sought re-election over the last century was victorious, including the last 3, Clinton, Bush 43, and Obama. Fact 3. The 2020 election could well be a referendum not on Trump, but on the Democratic nominee. It might be hard to believe, but after all the sound and fury the nation has absorbed ever since he rode down that escalator more than 4 years ago, the election of 2020 may well not even actually be about Trump. Why? Because with the Democratic presidential field rolling out a now irreversible leftist agenda over the first months of the campaign, history also adjudges that the American people will ultimately disqualify the party's eventual nominee. That's exactly what happened to tax-raising Walter Mondale in 1984 and the candidate of amnesty, abortion, and acid, George McGovern, in 1972. Running on platforms which would now be considered moderate by comparison, both were nevertheless trounced by sitting presidents, losing every state but one, victims of the largest landslides in American history. Fact 4. Based on over 2 centuries of presidential election history, Trump should win by a larger margin than in 2016, with the obvious caveat that things can change between now and Election Day. We could be unexpectedly drawn into a war or a recession. Trump, after winning a decisive victory in 2016 with 304 votes and a 14% margin of victory in the Electoral College, can reasonably expect to expand his margin in the next election. Based on how voters have historically responded to positive economic conditions, the president is likely to hold all 30 states that he won in 2016 and stands a better than even chance in all of the competitive states he lost narrowly last time: New Hampshire, Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, Arizona, and Colorado, perhaps even Virginia and New Mexico. Less than a quarter of the states appear to be out of play for the president, including California, Illinois, and New York, but those states control only 177 electoral votes, almost 100 shy of the 270 required for victory. And fact 5. Trump could lose two major states he won in 2016 and still win a second term. This is just to accentuate the last fact. Even if the president fails to duplicate his victories in two of the most critical states he won in 16, Pennsylvania and Michigan, and is also defeated again in every state that he lost narrowly in 2016, he would still win the election with the exact minimum needed for victory, 270 electoral votes. It is definitely conceivable that President Trump could accumulate 350 or more electoral votes in 2020, which would amount to a mandate for his audacious agenda even greater than the one he received in 2016. Hope you enjoyed this. If so, please like us and subscribe to the LibertyNation.com YouTube channel right there on your screen. I'm Tim Donner. Thanks for watching.